Welcome to Counsel Brew with your co-hosts,
Shireen Eldermary
and Nicola Hobesh. A pair of fully brewed badass lawyers as your co-hosts, where we share our conversations with lawyers and non-lawyers alike who have blazed their own badass trails and provide inspiration, practical tips, and laughs along the way. Grab a cup of coffee or tea and enjoy our conversations.
And who knows, maybe you will be inspired to embark on your own journey to badassery.
Let's
Pony
go.
up. Pony up.
Pony up.
So today we have with us Sam Erger. And I already knew it was Erger, by the way, but Shireen told me that you told her it rhymes with burger.
It's the best way to say it. People mess it up a lot. Erger. Usually it's Erger.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what are the other. So Erger. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I related with you right away because I grew up with Hobesh is my last name.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom would tell people ho, ho, ho in the color beige, which made me cringe. And I just about died every time she said it. And now I say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if it's the ho, ho, ho that is too much.
Yeah, that's a little bit too much.
Yeah. But I mean, it works. Hobesh.
Although it's good that she does all three. Because if you just did one, it would be bad.
Yeah, no, definitely need all three to be able to make it effective and not offensive for anybody involved in that conversation. But we're super excited to have you. Since we have so many lawyers that listen to the show, I do feel like I need to do a little bit of lead up. So if it's someone in the volleyball world, obviously they should know who you are by now, whether you want them to or not. But for the lawyers out there, I will tell you that we are super excited to have Sam with us today because she is the head coach of the SMU women's volleyball team. You've been there 3 seasons now, right? Going on this will be your 4th coming up.
That's right.
You are a D1 player in volleyball. You played at Bowling Green State University.
Yep.
I will never be able to get the initials right, and I'm sure I will call it something else at some point if it comes back
Roll
up.
along for any BG alums listening to this.
I love it. And one of the things that I thought was really cool as I've gotten, so full disclosure, I've gotten to watch your career over the last 2 years, in particular because I'm a pony twice over. And I love volleyball, and I have 2 daughters that are volleyball players that play club, and my oldest played high school. And so we are just big fans, and it's super easy to get down there. And we have experienced Moody Coliseum when we are one of a couple of families watching a volleyball game. And now we have experienced the most recent Nebraska game where it sold out the entire stadium, which was amazing. But we're going to come back to that.
Like, whoop, whoop.
I know. So exciting. So that's a little bit about Sam and why we're so excited to have her here. But before we get into the nitty gritty, and I know everybody wants to know more volleyball, but let's get back to Counsel Brew and the whole purpose in having you. So I'm going to let you, Shireen, ask the first question.
So, Sam, what is your brew?
So I'm drinking coffee right now, a little rainy and yucky outside. I'm not too picky. I love coffee. I'm addicted to it. I'm drinking coffee every single day. I wake up I go to bed thinking about it. Like I can't wait. Truly, I can't wait for my coffee in the morning. Me too. It is like my little delight, Like
it is a delight.
It is just delightful. But I've lately narrowed into what I really like. So my most recent thing is I do the Nespresso, trying to save a little money, those Starbucks charges, they do add up. When you go and look at your statement, you're like, what is going on? And it's like, $25 at Starbucks. Because they refill your card and it's like, oh crap.
Yeah. Well, and if you have your spouse or your kids with you, then it's not just a $5 or $6.
Right. You're doing the little cake pops and all that. Yeah. It adds up. So Nespresso to the rescue. So I'm doing the Nespresso and I do Americano style. I don't really like a ton of milk on my stomach. But I still need it to be creamy. So I put a little bit of Fairlife milk in it. And then I brought this with me because I'm just...
Oh, the monk fruit.
I am obsessed with this. It's caramel macchiato flavor. It's so good.
Okay. I haven't tried. I think I've had a friend that it wasn't monk fruit. It was something else, and it was not a good experience.
Y'all,
you like the monk fruit?
This is what... It's so good. Caramel macchiato. It's so good because I don't like things to be too sweet. Like I can't just do black coffee. If you just like black coffee, I honestly don't believe you. Like, I really don't. I don't think you're
You're drinking
winning
it to drink coffee.
Yeah, I don't know if you're winning an award for that. Like maybe, maybe you want the caffeine spike or whatever, but I don't believe that you actually like it. That's BS to me. My husband tries to do that and whatever. But
It's got to be light and sweet for me. I agree. I've only done straight monk fruit, like not like the cute little.
So this is it's so great. And so I load that stuff in there and then I put a little salt in it. So it's like salted caramel.
Oh, nice.
So good. Also electrolytes. Then you go a little bit of Fairlife milk and your hot water. And that is just so great. That's my every morning I go to bed.
I have a new recipe.
It's very good.
It is really yummy.
Right, and not too sweet, right? Like,
I'm kind of. I mean, Nicola will say I like sweets, but I usually don't like the caramel macchiato at Starbucks because it's too much. Like you have to tell them.
I didn't know there was a thing that was too much for you on the
Yeah.
coffee.
Well, it depends. I never really looked at the pumps until I was like, oh, that's too many. Like 2 is the max.
Yeah,
like,
I'm going to spend my sweet treat budget on like the real stuff, chocolate or something at the end of the night. I don't want to spend it on coffee. So
yeah.
I knew I liked you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not saying I don't like sweets, but
oh yeah.
I'm doing that at the end of the night.
Shireen's the, when you see the special menu at any coffee shop.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's going for it.
I'm going for it. Usually, yeah.
Very rarely will she not order whatever's on that special menu. And if it has a good name, like the name draws her in. She's a total sucker for a good name.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not good, but I'm also not saying I don't feel like complete crab in my stomach doesn't hurt for the rest of the day.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure the trade-off. I've learned my lesson.
What is your favorite coffee house near SMU? Because there's a handful.
Well, Foxtrot closed and maybe they're back. I don't know. So I did like Foxtrot, and I'm so doing my own thing now that I don't hit up a ton of the other. I maybe should start.
Because there's a White Rock over there too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's a ton of coffee shops.
Yeah. It used to just be Starbucks.
Yeah. So when I was at SMU across the street on Hillcrest, it was called the Coffee House, HAUS. It was literally the only coffee shop within, miles, certainly within walking distance. Mm-hmm. And I used to love to study there. And then it closed while I was in law school. That was so sad.
Yeah. And then
finally the
Starbucks came in.
Yeah. Finally the coffee industry hit and suddenly there's coffee shops everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
No, I think it was only Starbucks when we were in law school.
Yeah.
Over on Snyder Plot. Yeah, that was it. There was nothing else. So,
yeah. Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
That is so sad.
I know.
Yeah. Foxtrot was a good one. And I think they might be back up and running. So shout out Foxtrot.
We're gonna have
So what do you do when you're on the courts? What are you drinking when you're coaching?
Diet Dr. Pepper.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really like Dr. Pepper. I really like diet. It has to be diet. And that's not like out of, I need to lose weight or anything like that. It's more just like I truly enjoy that taste better. And it's just another little joyful delight in my day. Yeah. So if you see me right before a game on the sidelines, I usually have a Diet Dr. Pepper in my hand. And so our SID has gotten into the habit of getting just it for me.
Putting it in your hand.
It feels too bougie. I'm like, you don't need to go do this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need you to go get this for me. I can do this myself. But he's started bringing it to me.
But that is very Texan, I will say. So you fit in really well.
The Diet Dr. Pepper.
With the Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, that's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
They used to have, they still have the old Dr. Pepper clock on Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there used to be a factory there.
Yeah, that was before you probably came to Dallas. It's been years, but they used to have an entire building, and then there's a clock right next to that Kroger.
On Mockingbird.
And that was part of the Dr. Pepper
or Greenville
plant.
Yeah, I am a relatively new Dallasite, so that's how we say it, right? Dallasite.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm a little newer.
I love it. Okay. Well, so as I got to kind of peel back a little bit behind the scenes with you, because I got to know a lot of your volleyball stuff, which is awesome because there's so much out there now. It's been really fun to watch the hype and the excitement. But I really wanted to know a little bit more about who you are. So Shireen and I did a little bit of digging, and some of the cool things that we found out was you have a large family. And there's a lot of volleyball. So I thought I would unearth non-volleyball things and just found more volleyball.
Yeah.
True. So will you tell us a little bit about, you have several sisters.
Yeah.
your dad's a coach.
Yeah.
Like, share a little bit about that. And then we'd love to get back to little Sam and kind of move our way forward in life.
Yeah, totally. So I'm one of 5. And I think in today's world, that's viewed as a large family. But in my parents' world, when they were growing up, that was maybe middle of the ground, like average size family, medium size family. They both came from maybe double that size. I think my mom was one of 6 or 7, so just a little bit, and my dad maybe one of 12. So
wow.
Right. So anyways, it's large family. And my dad did all the sports growing up, and he had no history with volleyball, and they were both teachers, didn't make a ton of money. We always had shoes, but maybe never the ones we wanted type deal. So, but they loved teaching. Summers are off, and he would do odd jobs and whatnot. And so he would coach all the sports teams to get the extra pay.
Oh, makes sense.
Right. Because you get like a little extra stipend to coach the teams. And then he started having baby girls. And I think coaching the volleyball team was like an extra $300. I have no idea, but we're talking like 20, 30, I don't know, however many odd years ago. And so he picked up coaching the volleyball team. And now he had played like probably sand volleyball in the summers. Right. They grew up in Ohio along the like Lake Erie. They were working at Cedar Point, which is a really popular amusement park down there. And I'm sure they were playing sand volleyball. So he had a little bit. And then as he started having baby girls, we were playing and like just kept with it. And the rest is history. Like it never left our family. Wow. So he kept coaching. We all kept playing it. We enjoyed it. We were good at it. And, at some point realized there were scholarship opportunities with this sport. And then we also had that, I had that talk from my parents. At some point, everyone has, I think you two have children.
Yes.
At some point, you're going to have that, like, hey, what are you doing with your life talk?
Right.
Yes.
Like, what major are you doing? We're not going to do some bullcrap major. We're not doing underwater basket weaving.
Right. No, you have real majors.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so, like, what do you want to do with your life? And he was enjoying high school coaching, but I think he recognized that there was a real future or money to be made. Like he's a forward thinker, and even years and years ago saw that, hey, like Title IX, there's going to be opportunities for women and female sports, and this is only going to grow. Hey, maybe consider doing this. And so I'm maybe getting ahead of myself, but
no, you're not. This is great.
That is a conversation he had with me about maybe this is something you consider. I think he might have coached collegiately himself, but he was pretty entrenched in what he was doing.
So are you the oldest?
I am the second oldest.
Second oldest.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so you have, so I know you have
3 sisters, one brother. My brother is the youngest. I think they were just trying for a boy.
Okay.
Yeah. And my
congratulations.
My mom to this day is like, I would have had another. And so, but I have a sister that coaches at Dallas Baptist. So I love having a sister close by. A sister that lives in Waco, and they're both a big part of my own children's lives. It's so great to have family close by. It just makes, family divides the burden, but like multiplies the joy. So it's really cool to have them at these games. Usually fun. If we have big wins, you'll see me like go track down my family pretty quick and like just hug them type deal.
The fact that you all 3 of you ended up in Texas, not having been here, is pretty phenomenal.
That's a funny story. So I'm the second oldest, and my husband's from Texas originally. Okay. So we moved here right after we got married. When we got married, we had no money, no jobs, no plan. I don't know if that's like advisable.
It happens. You're not the first or the last couple to maybe start out life that way.
I don't know if that's advisable, but I interviewed for nobody would hire me. Nobody. I knew I wanted to coach. My dad was kind of like, hey, you should do this. And nobody would hire me, which is fine. But there was a head coaching job at a junior college in Hillsboro. Do you guys know where Hillsboro is? Yeah. Right off of 35.
Yeah. Yes. They have great outlet. Well, they used to have
That's like kind of what it's known for.
Yeah.
So there was a head coaching job at that junior college, and I interviewed for it. I might have probably been the only person that interviewed. They had kind of had to give me the job, but I coached it like I was the Olympic coach.
Yeah, you did.
And I was like all in. And so that is what I was looking for, a job in Texas, because my husband is from Texas. It was like, okay, I'm from Michigan, you're from Texas. Let's find a job in one of these two places.
Right.
And that's the one that I got. So that happened, and we kind of started getting settled here. And then when my younger two sisters graduated, they had two options, like move home with mom and dad, or
Follow Sam to Texas.
move in with like, sister and brother-in-law that are a little younger, a little cooler, maybe not have the same rules.
Yeah.
So they moved to Texas.
Were you in Hillsborough? Because that's not
at that
like a
point, we were
town.
actually in Waco. By then, we were in Waco, which is like a cool up and coming town.
And it's a college town.
Yeah.
So, and it's close to everything.
Right. You can like hop down to Austin, hop up to Dallas. And so those were their two kind of like options. And so they chose Texas, new,
smart
fun.
girls.
Yeah. And then they just started building lives here. And I'm not complaining. I love my sisters. So I was kind of egging them on, like, come live with me.
Come down here. It doesn't snow that much.
Right, exactly.
And when it does, we just stay home.
Yes. Yes.
True.
So I'm I'm all about my family. So that I'm loving that they're here.
And I say you have real majors because Sheree and I have a long running joke. Our dads, well, my dad in particular, anything that ends in ology was not a real major.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so I started out biomedical engineering at SMU and then quickly realized with physics, I was like, I need to change directions. And so when I told him I was going to add a psychology degree to my math degree, my dad has yelled at me maybe twice in my life. That was one of them. And I couldn't even appreciate what was happening because I had never really witnessed it before. My mom was the disciplinarian.
Right.
And then similarly, would give Shireen a hard time because of her ology.
Oh, yeah. I went from I went from pre-med to physics. And then I was like, oh, this isn't going to happen. And I did. He was like, did you just choose philosophy because it starts with the same two letters? I'm like, well, that and I can actually finish in 4 years because I can write papers. Yeah. Fine. We'll just deal with you later.
My parents weren't so much on the major, although they were more like, you better have a plan and you're not doing event planning major. Like they were definitely, hey, some of these are an absolutely no.
Right.
And you better have a plan. You are for sure off our payroll. Even when I was a sophomore in college, I was off the payroll. Like,
that's amazing.
Yeah, go figure out life. You're not, no car. You're done.
Yeah.
Well, one of five, they kind of were like, we need you out of the house.
Right. Well,
we need you to get off the payroll.
And you had three more coming behind you that were looking to see what you were doing. I don't know what your oldest sister ended up doing.
She teaches and lives in Michigan, and she's like thriving and just had a baby girl. So
that's very fun. Nice. Yeah. So I mean, you're setting precedent in the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so my question is before the talk, like what were you thinking about? Sounds like you had a different idea of what you might have done.
Yeah, I'll say I always was money motivated again, maybe just having grown up in tons of, big family, 5 kids, both my parents were teachers. And I think when you're young, you just only know what you know. And I was just kind of scrapping and thinking, okay, I want to go make money like that. I was super money motivated, but I love to be, I like fast paced problem solving, things like that. So I think I might have answered this. So this is more actually on the back end of my life, thinking about if I had another life to live, I would totally do like intelligence or work for the government or go military. And not even out of patriotism. I am patriotic. I love this country, but
and you're forced to wear red, white, and blue.
Yeah, exactly. It works perfect, right?
Yes, win-win.
Yes, and it's more like I love solving problems, moving fast paced. I want to everything that I do as a coach, but maybe of a little higher consequence.
Right. It's a lot more tactical, and then
yeah, like
you strive serious off the intensity.
Yeah, some serious stuff on the line type deal, and I'm also very driven by efficiency. So when I was a player, and I didn't want to throw all that to like the woodshed, so I was like, well, I should coach. I've spent my life training this and learning this. I don't want to just give it up. I'm going to go do this.
Yeah. And
So what was that transition like? Because, we've had transitions in our careers. So what was it like going from player to coach, or did you get some of that experience before you went all in?
I had been coaching like club or like for my dad's, in the gym, like throw it in with the little kids, like the, whatever summer camp stuff since I was young. So there was a part of me that knew, hey, maybe I want to coach for a long time. But I will say that when I became a coach, I called my former coach and was like, I'm sorry. She was like, for what? I was like, everything.
anything. I don't know. I can't remember.
I'm sorry
I just
for
know
everything.
I owe you an
For
apology.
everything. I owe you an apology for everything. And then when I became I became a head coach at college right away. No one would really hire me. And then I became an assistant at Baylor, was a longtime assistant at Baylor, and then head coach at SMU. But when I got the job at SMU, I did the same thing to my former Baylor coach. It was like the first time I saw him, I was like, I'm sorry. He's like, for what? I'm like, everything.
I get it.
I would be such a better assistant now. So, you just once you only learn once you kind of in the shoes type deal.
Yeah.
And you were 8 years at Baylor, right?
Yeah. I always rounded up to a decade. It felt like a decade, but yeah, about close to a decade. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. It was so, I loved it there, but yeah.
Well,
yeah.
8 years in any position you get to see, in particular coaching, like 8 years gives you enough time to actually get through classes and then see what your players end up doing in life. Like you get to see them start adulting in a different way when they leave.
Yeah.
And I feel like I would guess that you start to see some of the impact that you made on them in their lives and their decisions. I don't know. Did you have a lot of players that reach back out? And
yeah, I mean, a lot of those players I was similar in age to.
Yeah.
So still very close to some of them. I would say some of them I call a friend, close friends now maybe. And, ones that come to mind would be like Shelly Fanning. She's playing pro now. Callie Williams. I just went to her wedding over the summer. Hannah Locken. She's now married. So I can't think of her married name. I always think of their maiden names. So all three of them actually have different last names now. But really close with them. They're friends now. And I think the impact goes both ways, and just I love that's one of the best parts of coaching is meeting them when they are 14, 15 or 16 and then releasing them to the world at 21, 22 and hopefully having grown. It's such a formative time in your life, your college years.
The impact you get to make as a coach is dynamic.
Huge, very dynamic, very huge. But when you get to college, you're kind of deciding like, who do I want to be? I'm no longer with mom and dad. I think mom and dad have shaped you up to that point or wherever you're coming from. But now you're deciding in this short time, like, who do I want to be? Like, what do I really believe? What do I want to do? Where do I want to go? Like, talk about how formative it is. And you're searching for some help.
Right.
And a coach that's with you every day. It's an
especially
impactful relationship.
For the athletes at a school like Baylor, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's like fairly intense, plus learning how to manage your life. They're still teenagers.
Yes.
As a teenager, becoming an adult, I mean, that's a heavy load for them to lift as well. Yeah.
And frankly, like volleyball is probably not the most important thing in anybody's life. Like it's really not even the most important thing in my life. And, but I love it. They love it. So I think getting that message across to these young women that we can be great at it still doesn't have to be the most important and kind of freeing them from those chains so they can go be great. And there's just so much that happens when you spend that kind of time together, the highs and the lows, the trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Truly. Not just like trauma bonding as a team, but then as an individual. So your team may have had a great game. Yeah. But one of your players didn't, or vice versa. And how do you celebrate the player when the team didn't come through the way that the team had hoped, right? Like there's just so much you have to give as a coach and be aware of. And I feel like when I was in college, I felt like I got to see a lot of the world growing up. I was very lucky. But in some ways, I also didn't appreciate what all the opportunities were out there or necessarily how to get there. And so the tools to them, right. And unlocking, or even that something existed that I might be interested in. So when you say I have, in another life, I might have done like,
that's what I was kind of, yes, yeah.
Right? So I'm like, I have 10 other lives that I would pick from.
100%.
Not that there's anything, I love my life, right? Very blessed, excited, love my kids, my husband, all the things. But like, what else could I have done? Oh, I'm going to do that in another life. In the next life, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
We have those conversations all the time.
I mean, it might happen in this life.
Yeah, in another life, I think I'm living in DC, not front-facing politics. Like, that's not, for sure, that's not for me. But behind the scenes, intelligence, something in that military, yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that'd just be amazing.
So you're not a secret operative posing as a D1 volleyball coach?
Not today.
No, she's silent. She's silent. Not today. Not that she's going to admit on this podcast. Anyways. We just unlocked the secret that everybody's been wondering about.
CIA recruitment.
CIA recruitment. Hey, there's time.
There is time.
You're young. You have plenty of time. Okay, so let's talk about, inevitably we're going to come back to volleyball, but let's talk about, you have 3 young children.
I know you're part of the 3 club too.
Oh, yes. Okay, I knew you both had children.
Yes. I have 2 girls.
Okay. She's one-on-one.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. We have to play tactical.
Yes, that's right.
My husband refused to be outnumbered, so that's why we stopped at 2. Although I only wanted 1. And then when I saw the second one, I was like, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. Yeah. Like, what would the third one look like? Let's just do it. And my husband just laughed. Shireen, however, snuck in a third.
I stealthily did that, and it was fantastic.
And she got her girl.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so sweet.
She also stole my birthday. So.
Oh, my gosh. That's so...
we're like we're a day apart.
Chances of that.
Yeah, so she just keeps, celebrating for 2 days instead of 4.
I love it.
Yeah.
And you also snuck in a girl.
Yeah, I did.
Right? You have 2. Your boys are your 2 oldest.
Yep, she's right in between. Yes.
Oh, so she's in the middle.
Yeah. I love, I love having my kids. I just went with it, so I decided very early, like I was going to pursue career and family at the same time. To me, success is holistic. And, I don't want my career to be crushing it at the expense of other dreams, whatever that may be. Like for me personally, it is family and these things that I want. But whatever, you name it, women, whatever it is that you want. Right. So I don't want my career to be crushing it and my other parts of my life are falling apart.
Right.
Like that to me is not what I want to model to anybody. And I do get often asked, how did you get to SMU or how are you where you're at and whatnot from young girls that maybe want to consider coaching or whatever it is that are in volleyball now and doing it afterwards. Right. And I don't know. I would sit down with them and ask them what do you want your whole life to look like? Like write it all out. And if it is just career and that's all you want, okay. Because again, it should be individual to you, but I'd be surprised if that is the case. Because I think most people have a holistic idea of a few different things. And that's my biggest advice is like, don't appropriately go after all of them at the same time. I think you can do it all. I do think you need help. I definitely do.
Much help.
I do not buy into that mantra, like women can do it all. Like, no, you do need a team and you got to narrow your focus and you're going to need help. And otherwise you're going to be a shell of yourself trying to chase after that little mantra that people have sold us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that we can do it all because you really
can't.
I mean,
I think so, the generation before us like really had to break barriers and some of them had to make major sacrifices to get there, right? Like there was not a lot of leeway of, oh, you have to leave early because you have to go take care of your kids, right? So they were much more focused on like, we have to break the barrier and show that we can be in these positions. And then we came through, there was no playbook, right? Because some of the people who should be our mentors, like they did sacrifice having family at a younger age or until they had the resources to be able to have, nannies or whatever else that they could do. So it was hard because it was like, there wasn't really anybody for us to look to say, how do you do this? And what does that look like? I never really thought about it, but I obviously decided to have also a career and kids at the same time. Like it wasn't even
it wasn't even like I didn't even have the foresight to think about it. my path just sort of unfolded. So I love the idea of, again, I think I didn't even know that I should think about that. And I should have, because I think that's how you make yourself, available to a successful life, and whatever success is for you. And that combination and pursuing it. I think a lot of people don't know that they, can make those choices for themselves because they feel like they have to accept certain things that are put in front of them, because what if it's not there anymore and it never comes back versus.
Right. But it also isn't going to look the same. I think some of it is like, my mom didn't work after she had kids. Right. Yeah. So like, there's no role model for that. What does that look like? And for me, I was like, well, that's not happening. Like, I'm going to work and just make it happen. Right. So like, we have friends now who have younger kids and like, how did you do it? I'm like, I didn't really think about it. Like, I had to make it work. It wasn't like if this and then that. It was like, so I got to logistically figure out how this works and make it work for me so I can do what I want.
And if that's what your mom wanted, I'd say more power to her, and great. And I think everybody, like, I'm really just about women doing and being able to choose what they want to do. Right. What I see from young girls right now is this idea that I've got to go chase down my career and be solely focused on that. And then I will do these other things that I want. Then I will get married. And that is a dream I have. And then I will do that. And then I will have kids. And then I will do this part of my life. And then I will do that part of my life.
Compartmentalized almost. And like I have to check the one box before I can move on to the next.
You are living your life right now.
Right. This is the life.
This is your life. It is happening now. And it is holistic. And they end up, I think, despising their careers and hating it. And putting all your eggs in any one basket, maybe, I don't think is wise. I'm like, that's just my advice, man. Like, there's no reason why you can't, I think, say that success for me and go say, hey, career, whatever your other dreams are. Again, for me was I want family. I do want children, and going after all of them at the same time. You do need help. You cannot do it alone. You are going to need to narrow your focus and make sacrifices. Right.
Well, and I think people assume that you have to go the same speed for each one, which you don't. Right. So there's some days where I am an incredible wife. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you disagree, Todd, we'll have to have a talk with my husband, Todd. I don't think he will. And then there's some days I'm an incredible friend. Some days I'm an incredible, worker, whatever it is, working in my career.
Totally.
Sometimes I'm an incredible volleyball mom.
Right.
Other moments I shine less, right? I really currently suck at doing anything at my younger daughter's school, but I've basically deferred that to my husband, but I've poured into managing both my girls' club teams, for example. Mm-hmm. So I think you have to be able to recognize you don't have to do 100% of everything to really enjoy it and feel fulfilled. And there are some days you can do some 100%, other days not. But that doesn't make you less or not hitting the mark.
No, you're so right. You're so exactly right. And I think you can appropriately say, hey, maybe right now I'm going to go all in and focus on, I did that. Like SMU that first year was like, I'm all in to get this thing off the ground and whatnot. And I think there's just different times to go different speeds for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So I have a lot of questions.
Okay. Is it speed round?
Well, I don't know that it will be speed round, but
rapid fire.
And some of it's volleyball, some of it's not. But I did have a few favorites. And to be clear, I have never come to an interview with questions before.
Well, hit me with them. I'm ready.
This, like when I showed up, I emailed this to Shireen. It was like
depot prep.
I know Shireen's like, what is happening with you?
I love this. I am so ready.
Yeah, and usually I'm a bullet person. Like I'm like, oh, these three things. So we interviewed the CEO of Northeast Texas Girl Scouts. Mm-hmm. So with her, I did have like a short list rapid fire, which was pretty fun. So that's as close as I've gotten.
Okay.
Okay. So I was thinking about you as a mom, and a wife, right? And so one of the networks you have as a parent, especially as a mother, are other mothers, and they come in and out of your life because your kids are at different stages. You might be going through a stage of your child's life where you're connecting with certain moms, not right. So I was trying to picture you at like a school event or a mom's event, right? Or play date, if you will. How old are your kids now?
They are 8, 5, and 3.
Yeah. Okay. So I knew you still had like the littles.
The play date.
The play date. I was like, you're still in play date stage. So I was, what is that like? Do they even know what you do or the amazing shit you've done? Like what you've been able to accomplish? Like, do they just,
Yeah, I have I do keep like a tight knit group of really, really close friends that really I trust and have been with me through my whole career. And then in each new stage location, I guess, that I've been in, maybe I pick up a few. I tend to keep a tight circle.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a few really close friends that you'll see them at the SMU games, and they're just like, and I want to be as much a part of their life as they are mine.
Right.
And so if you're seeing me at a momming it out, I tell my girls all the time, I feel like I live 2 totally different lives. Like I'll be in the gym wearing my SMU gear, doing my thing. And then I'm totally in like mom mode, in mom clothes. And we're talking about, what's the best, are we getting rid of red dye or is that a bunch of bull crap? Like, I don't know, who knows what we're talking about.
Right.
And we're not even talking volleyball, and it gets a totally different deal. But they do support what I do. They come to my games and we keep it close knit. And I don't know, they kind of protect me.
I call it your board of directors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And they all bring like different things
they're
that you
like
need in your life.
badass in what they're doing too.
Yeah.
Like, and so they've got some really cool stuff going on. I mean, I have some really cool friends. I've got a friend that's like building houses. Like her and her husband are building houses in Waco and like really crushing that. And like, I mean,
they go
like,
by gains.
Yeah.
but they are like unbelievable at what they do. And they own multiple businesses and just really, really just awesome. And then I've got friends that are speaking here in tech, just high achievers. I don't know, just really cool people. And then I've got mom friends that are like the best stay-at-home moms ever. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I just like,
you have a good mix of different personalities. I just was trying to picture you like, you meet someone at the PTA meeting. Well, what do you do? Oh, I'm an attorney. What do you do? Oh, I coach the women's, like, what do you don't know who I am? I don't understand. Like, I would never, like at some point you may get to that stage.
I would never, ever, I would never do that. I try to not answer that question.
We try not to answer that we're lawyers either, for what it's worth.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
People get intimidated.
People gonna get kind of like,
oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, see, there you go.
Yeah. I would say I coach volleyball.
Yeah. I try to just not answer it, but no. Yeah.
That's fun. I'm glad you have such a great, I call them the board of directors. And they know who they are. And they keep me grounded. They also tell me when I'm, being silly or thinking too deep on something and worked up about something, and they'll remind me that, everybody's human and does this, all the things to keep me grounded. So I love that. Okay. We already talked about if you weren't coaching, what you would be doing potentially. I wanted to know, like, when you're with your family, do you go into automatic volleyball talk, or do you have rules around, you get to talk 5 minutes about what's happening in your volleyball world? You get 5 minutes because you have a ton of volleyball in your family.
We share. Our family text thread is actually where most of the volleyball talk goes down. We'll like, huge game, or be talking back and forth, and actually can get kind of chippy. Like, why didn't you guys do this? Shouldn't have done that. That's why.
Yeah, because you have your other sister who's
like, if it's a big win, like, you'll go back and look at the family text thread, and it's like, holy crap! After Nebraska, it was like,
I can't
this is
imagine.
what's happening. This is what's happening. Everybody turn it on. Because not everybody's in Texas to be at that game. But if we're losing, my dad might be sending in like, should have served tougher. God, something along those lines. It can get very straightforward, very chippy, very just, no mercy type deal, no punches pulled. But in person, we are big. I don't know. We don't really talk volleyball a ton in person. My husband was late into the volleyball scene. He played basketball in college. And so all the people in my life that I know that got into volleyball late, I've been doing it since I was in,
little
diapers. everybody I know that got into it late loves it. Volleyball's a cool sport.
Yeah.
There's a lot of athletes that found it late that are like, I will talk about this every second.
Right.
I love this. So he's kind of that. And I'll have to be like, I don't want to talk about volleyball right now.
Like, I just need a break.
Yeah. So he eats, breathes, like, I want to chat about it. And I'll have to be like, hey, I'll give you 5 minutes. I will discuss this with you.
And then we have to move on.
Done.
Well, your boys are coming up on volleyball age.
Oh,
and now
gosh.
boys
Yeah.
volleyball is like huge in North Texas.
Yeah.
Is really growing. There's at least 3 or 4 clubs I can think of that all have
Excel.
boys.
There's a few good ones. Yeah. They'll probably do, right now they're doing basketball and golf, and they're really liking basketball, and they're doing soccer. I feel like soccer has a monopoly on the little ones. Like every little kid does soccer. So
especially in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, but my family, we are big board games, Mario Kart, card games, Liar's Dice, Catan, competitive games of some sort.
Okay.
I love it.
We play Mario Kart all the time.
But that's also including you and your husband.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, family experience.
Yeah.
So I could probably, I'm not judging anybody that's gaming, but I'd be curious how you've reined that in to make it not.
Yeah. I mean, there are programs where they're trying to get it more like, where they have coaching and teach them how to be more disciplined about that, right? Because there are issues with screens, right? There's issues with screens, there's issues with carpal tunnel and some other stuff. So it's just different injuries, right?
Right.
So it's just kind of the same thing, but like actually trying to get that more, I guess, not regulated, but what is it? What am I looking for? Structured.
Yeah.
Structured. So that's what's up and coming. SMU does have an esports team.
If one of my sons wanted to do gaming, I'd really want to like put some healthy, strong parameters around that.
Yeah. And they're definitely looking into that. So anyway.
You can use your investigative skills that you don't get.
So that's my take on gaming for now. But I think there's a lot of people out there that would probably, don't come at me. Don't come at me.
They might invite you to come watch one of their tournaments.
Okay, maybe I need to be educated. That's why I said strong opinions loosely held there. I might need some education there.
I love it. Okay. So coaching isn't a linear path. Maybe even in the same day, it's not linear. What you start out the day thinking you're going to end up doing and what you end up doing. But what's the challenge that you faced that made you question like the journey, and then how did you push through it?
Okay, I'm going to summarize this question to like, what's the hard part about coaching?
Yeah, that's fine. Or even like, what's a misconception that people have about college coaches?
We are human.
Yes.
I think, and we are not perfect, and we don't, at least I don't pretend to be. I don't know the future. Every decision and risk is calculated. I want what's best for your children. At the same time, I'm trying to balance. I am judged on performance,
Right.
At least at the collegiate level. It depends what level you're at, right?
Right.
But club coaches too.
Right.
Yeah.
And we truly do want what's best for your kids. And I think people at times it's high emotion. It's very high emotion and I have my own kids, so I understand this. I think in this high emotional environment, people lose sight of that. We don't maybe want what's best for your kids, and I do. But only so many can play. I mean, that age-old playing time thing, it's tough. I think the hardest part about coaching is the parents.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
Even in college,
it's really hard. Yeah, it's really
interesting. Hard. Do you have to navigate the parent calls the same way a club coach?
Not always like direct.
Yeah.
But the indirect might sometimes even be harder, right?
Because that's true.
If it's indirect, then it's probably
the parent
public
that's true too.
Right, yeah. Right. So, and that, nobody should be free of criticism, and nobody should be free from, especially in a public facing job. But it's hard. I'm just being honest with you. I'm answering your question. It's very challenging because, again, we're human. We're not going to get it right. There's calculated decisions, but we don't want to lose games, and we don't want to hurt people ever. But it's tough when you're dealing with emotions and very, people that want to see what's best for their own individual child.
Right.
So
It's competing priorities.
Yeah.
Yes.
So where do you go to get support as you're having to navigate things like that? Because when you think about college coaches, you don't think about, oh, what's the support network that you have to be able to, like, what's your safe
Do you
space?
have a bat call?
Right. I know it's like a bat phone to like other, I like it
Yeah.
that you said something wrong for the first time, because I always call things the wrong thing. But you have your sister. That's super helpful. Who's also,
I think coaches need to lean on each other for sure. You're not alone. I think every coach probably deals with it. And maybe it's not just the parents. It could just be just the judgment on what you're doing. Because in general, like every coach is trying to be successful, trying to win, and trying to do right by the people that they're leading.
right.
You know, and like to have
People forget that.
To have that questioned is sometimes like, I don't want to lose. I want people to be happy, and we're trying our best, right? So, where do you get to? I think hopefully you have good administration that you can lean on, and a good team that you set up. Obviously my husband, my family, things like that. But that is the hardest part.
Where would we find you if you're not on the court?
With my family, with my kids, for sure. I spend, gosh, that's like the best part of my day is being with my littles. I love snuggling them or working out. Maybe like I gotta get my hot yoga in. Maybe not daily. Like I don't want anybody watching this to think unrealistically that I get a workout in every day.
Right.
I haven't even gotten
it is a fantasy.
It's such a fantasy. It's so, again, unrealistic expectations. But
what's your favorite thing to do with your kids? Like, do you guys like to adventure? You like to stay at home? And
I want to get them outside like that. I'm like big time. Like, can we get outside and play and just run and move and things like that? But I would be lying if I said I don't love it when I get home and the nanny has spent a bunch of time with them outside, so that I can be like, yes, let's watch a movie and snuggle.
Everybody pile in.
Like, yes. Like, now I can do a little screen time and cuddle without guilt because I've been outside all day.
With your Nespresso.
Yeah.
Even better if someone made it for you and you were waiting 100%. For you.
So I need to have another kid just so I can have those cuddle years. It's like the best.
I have to go back to your competitive board gaming and others. Do you guys have like a winning dance?
I mean, we just like what happens is when someone wins, immediately the people that lost are like, again, let's go.
Oh, okay.
Like set it back up.
So there's not like a whole crash.
No,
it's just like
it's immediate. Like set it back up, especially with Mario Kart, and it's like round 2. Come on. So
that's a good question, or that's a good lead into. I was going to ask you if you had a walk-up song. Like, why doesn't volleyball have walk-up songs? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Every time serving songs.
Yeah, like every time you go to serve, it is so short. So then I rush. In good lawyer form, I argued why it would be amazing, and then I argued why it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I'd have to think on that. I haven't thought about one
walk-up
that was great for me, but maybe like Thunder or something like that.
Okay. Oh, Thunder would be
I'd probably
good.
go with like classic rock. I used to really be into, all those games. Why can't I think of it right now?
Air guitar.
Yeah.
Like Guitar Hero.
Like Guitar Hero was my jam.
I feel like Thunder could be really good in Moody Coliseum.
100%.
Like starting out before you do any sort of, pep rally songs or anything else. Or just have the volleyball band learn Thunder. Everybody knows. Any band kid knows Thunder.
Yes, the band kids can do it.
Right?
Yes.
Oh, it'd be awesome. Okay, so this question I have is actually from a 15-year-old who, she's a libero.
Great.
And I love that this question came from a 15-year-old because it just shows what an incredible kid she is. But she said, and I'm just going to read her question. She
I was going
said,
to say the impact that you have on young women's lives, but continue.
Yes. This is true. Is it hard to give 110% to your young children while also giving 110% to your players who also probably feel like your own children? And how do you stay energized while constantly devoting so much time and energy to others? The fact that a 15-year-old came up with that question is pretty spectacular.
Can I meet this kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. If there's that, what a good question. So there are definitely days often where I'm driving home going, I'm tired. I've just spent a lot of my best work. I'm sure you guys probably know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm doing my best, and I'm about to go home, and I just kind of want to like get on the couch. That's what I'm like. I love it when my nanny has done a lot of the outdoor stuff, so I can just like cuddle. Because I can give you my best cuddle. Like I'm tired, I'm ready for that. I will go 120% on that,
and then we could just fall asleep here.
100%. But yeah, it is hard, and so that back to like you can't do it all. I think you really need to narrow your focus. Here's a just quick snippet. Like I'm not trying to sound bougie here, but I don't live in this like amazing, huge, beautiful house so that I can pay for someone to clean my house, cook my meals, do my laundry, and handle all these other things so that all of my time can be spent on coaching and being a mom. So I sacrifice, and those bills are very high. Like it's actually really sad sometimes to look at our bills. I think in these young years, once they're all in school, maybe it'll change a little bit, but
it'll be replaced with sports.
I know.
Sorry. We're just going to burst your bubble right now.
Yeah, it's tough. So, but again, I think goes back to that, like you are going to need to sacrifice. You cannot, I'm so out on you can have it all.
Yeah.
So we make, I think, significant sacrifices in order to try to eliminate as much off my plate and my husband's.
Yeah.
So that we can do these other things. And we still don't hit the 110 every day.
Right. That's how she sees you, though. She sees you giving 110%. So when she gets to watch
we really
you,
try.
Yeah. I mean, to her, yes. To lots of young girls that are coming and watching the games, not talking about the players themselves, but the ones that get to see you, like when you show up, you are showing up.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful impact.
Well, it's the highlight reel. I mean, that's the issue, right? So like what she sees is the highlight. Just like when we walk in the courtroom.
Using like a sports, I know that's impressive. Sports term, highlight reel.
But I think the issue here is like balancing, right? This is a 15-year-old and being like, listen, it's game time. Like there are all these things that happen before you get to game time, just like for us for trial, right? Like, do you know what the conference room looks like before trial?
Yes,
like,
you're making a great point.
It took like a really long time to get there to show up for showtime or whatever.
Well, and same for when you get to your kids with the help and the support that you have.
Yeah.
Right. All the things that your nanny's been able to do to help get your kids to the point where you are able to.
And what I would tell her is I don't give 110 every time because we all fall short at some point. Like, again, we're human.
Yeah.
I think back to I think people.
That may be the best message.
Build these unrealistic ideas of their like heroes or whoever they're inspired by. And it's like,
you don't see everything.
Right. You're like, it's 110 on game day. And then it's 110 the next day for my family. Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, you can't.
And we're very much trying to hit those ideals. And it's totally fine to have those ideals and try to strive for those. And when you don't hit them, I think you can revisit and go, man, how can I get closer to that next time? But,
Okay, I have another great question. Have you ever had a player who changed your perspective on coaching? Like you were like, oh, I thought this is the way to do it. And then a player brought you around to another way of seeing something, or because you've had so many opportunities starting in a small college that you were like just grateful for the job and really, they were lucky to have you. Mm-hmm. And then moving on to Baylor and SMU. You've had lots of players that you've been able to touch their lives. Have they? Definitely.
I could bring a few up. So Shelly Fanning is one that comes to mind. I talked about her earlier. She had her own style and she was very confident and she's great. She's a pro now. And I think there's some coaches that would have gone in and tried to make her do their way, but she was great at her way.
Right.
Like let her go.
Yeah.
And let her thrive. And I think there were players that maybe she rubbed at times the wrong way, and she needed support from coaches to help hone her confidence. And I learned from her and how to handle that type of player. So she maybe changed my perspective in some ways on like not squashing someone's like gifting that they just naturally have. Okay, so even this recently, I've learned with a recent situation, I would have done something differently in the way that I think I had a player that wasn't getting the playing time she wanted. And I wish I would have handled, I wish I would have handled how I communicated that differently.
Not necessarily the decision around
The
how you
decision
did it,
I
but
wouldn't
how you would have
the decision I wouldn't have changed. But there's this old adage of like, hey, I'm not talking to your parents. But you know what? I think now I'm kind of open to it. Like if parents want to understand why, okay, fine. You know, now I think I've changed my tune on that a little bit in that I will sit down with them. And in the past, there's a strong adage of like, they're adults. And I do think, yes, they're adults. But if parents are committed to asking why and questioning and being a part of it and are going to rail against it, then I will have that conversation.
Well, and very likely the player is having conversations with her parents and is being influenced, both good and maybe bad, to whatever their volleyball knowledge is. And parents, of course, want what's the best for their children. But it's also true in the club world. Like in the club world, it's every club that we've been a part of has been the player has to talk to the coach first. Mm-hmm. Then, you know, the parents can get involved. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting to me because, you know, having your 13-year-old go talk to an adult or two adults without you present is a little unnerving for parents.
Yes.
And you may have a confident child. You may have a child that doesn't know how to advocate or is a pleaser.
I mean, they're 13.
They're 13, but that is so.
And that's a good exercise for them to learn. But even like in my setting, collegiately, like you just made a great point. Like and that's what I have recently kind of come upon. Like I've landed where exactly you said, like, hey, whether I like it or not, the parents are influencing and talking with their children, and that, of course they should be. So it's not whether I like it or not, but so maybe a meeting of all of us together would be appropriate, where there's this very much this old adage of like, we're not talking to the parents. And I don't know if I'm buying that anymore.
I love that you're thinking about that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I've probably grown there from that situation, and that I think it's going to be appropriate and totally fine you might not agree with the decision, but I'll let you in on why I've landed there.
Right. So at the end of the day, we may still not agree.
Yeah.
Right.
But I always feel like you are going to find your way further along.
Yeah. So plenty of times, plenty of kids have helped me grow, to answer that question.
Actually plays nicely into lawyers because that's what we're doing all the time. You may not agree, but at the end of the day,
I don't think you have to be fair, but I think you should be honest. And why do we have to stop at the player? I'm fine. I would say now I'm totally fine to. If the parents really want to know, then fine. You are a party to that
conversation. Yeah. Great. I love that. The growth for the player too. So I don't even know if this is the right term, but the ball shaggers, is that the right term?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. They are so fast. Yeah. And they do such a great job.
They're trained.
Yes.
They're into it.
Do they get training?
They do.
Okay. So like, do they show up at practices? Like,
no.
Are they, bowling scholarship kids? No. Like, how are they getting the balls? It's dynamic and they are on it.
No,
and I've only seen one clueless one. Yeah. The rest of them have had their shit together.
Yeah. At SMU, it's our facilities that do like brief training before games, and sometimes it's like older, but okay. So the best ever is like Nebraska has this down to a science. So they've got like this army of little kids. We played at Nebraska the year before they came to play us. This army of little kids, and they're so cute and they're doing their thing. And it is like military style what they're doing.
Impressive.
It's so impressive. And we have this like running joke because they had one kid that was like kind of slower. Like, oh, that kid's about to get fired. And then, like stuff is going down on the bench or in the game. Like you're in battle. And they had these kids that were like, it was intense, that were like meant to like sit next to us so they could be closer, I guess. We don't do that at SMU. We don't have like little kids sitting.
No.
But they've got them stationed like all around the court.
Oh, just in case the ball goes that direction.
So that had me a little and they were like floor wipers. So that had me a little like unnerved at first. So I'm like,
is this kid spying on
I
me?
try to mostly keep it.
Intel? Is this intel?
I try to mostly keep it, clean.
Right.
But it's sports.
Right.
Things get heated. Sometimes there's a, there's this stuff. And now there's this 7-year-old, this sweet little 7-year-old sitting next to me, and I was like, dude, this kid's seen some shit.
Yes.
This kid's
you're growing up in this game.
I was like, we were like dying because this kid has been like next to some, who knows. We were like, this kid's like wiser and older than his years because he's been like,
That's so funny.
so we were just dead and like,
That's hilarious.
when they're going slow, we're like, oh, he's off the A team. So at SMU, we're not quite as trained as the...
Well, the ball strikers are pretty good. I was pretty proud of my ponies, especially in the Nebraska game, because I feel like...
I will give them that feedback.
Yeah. It's pretty funny. So then another game question is, so I have two. So I'll start with I don't know which one's easier. So one of them is, so when you're in the game and you're coaching, do you ever make eye contact with the coach on the other side?
Rarely.
Okay.
Sometimes if they're like a friend of mine, then that could be different where we're both just kind of like giggling.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
or,
stuff like that.
Haha,
yes,
that was beautiful.
Yeah, like especially the TCU coach will like definitely like that can be really fun. If it's not a friend of mine, rarely.
Okay.
Game
face on.
Yeah, that could be a little more awkward. Yeah.
Okay. I like it. Okay. And then that led me into, your outfit, Sam.
Oh.
I mean, we should have just done the whole podcast on the outfit.
You're gonna make me blush.
I was like, so there's a big debate in my house on whether you have a stylist or if that's just your natural.
Goodness.
Yes, like who is dressing you? Is it you? Is it your kids? Is it your husband? They've nailed it.
Oh, really?
Like you always show up so polished.
Oh, you're so kind.
Well,
Well,
a great
or
sense of
student at
style.
SMU.
Yeah,
Say that
Yeah.
again.
Or an SMU student.
Yeah.
Gosh, I really should. Okay, so I do not have a stylist. I would love that. If there's any
You
like,
should negotiate that in your
I
contract.
know, really.
We could have helped you.
I'm not.
we-
you ladies. That's all. I need.
We
some,
have some
Need
tips.
some help. Okay, so if there's ever a day where I could be dressed or sponsored in some way, that would be the dream. Because
Okay.
here's my goal, and this is what I've told my girls. I want to look nice and presentable, but I do not want to be the center of attention.
Right.
I'm not really. I love Kim Mulkey so much. I spent time with her at Baylor. I think she's highly successful, and it's because she's smart and incredible at what she does. I'm not really going for that though. That's her thing, and I'm not judging.
Right.
But that's not really.
It works for her.
Yeah, great. I'm not really going for that. I do not want to be the center of attention. I would just like to look nice and classy, but not be the center of attention. But I want it to be. I think the game is, to me, we train and we work very hard, and the game is kind of like a celebration.
Yeah, like you're honoring
Yeah,
what you've done to get to that.
And so I also don't want to show up as if this is some
Schlumpy.
yeah, just run of the mill, like whatever. Like no, like we've put a ton of time into this, and I want people to realize like this is a big deal. But again, I don't want to steal the spotlight from my girls either. And I think that that's like a fine line I'm trying to walk.
I think you're doing a great
Okay,
job.
thank you.
I think you're doing a
I
fabulous
appreciate that.
job.
So, but I also don't want to put a ton of time in that because, like I said, I'm like kids, work,
Right.
Yeah.
So I dress myself. I appreciate that you like it. And if anyone ever wanted to take that off my hands, I would gladly be like, please.
Please. So fun. Oh, well, I've noticed, so I don't see club coaches doing it. So when we're in the club circuit, right, we're in a tournament and you're 8 hours.
I know,
Right,
if I was a
like-
club coach, I wouldn't either. I'd be wearing
Yeah.
like
But the high school coaches do
athleisure.
it. The high school coaches, it's been interesting to watch, in particular, the female high school coaches, and kind of
They
they've
might have
started
the same
to.
thought I do. Like, hey,
Yeah.
you put a lot of work in here. I want.
Yeah, it's time. Well, I mean,
It's
I
really
feel
become a
like
thing.
women athletics as well as other things are having their moment.
They're
and like
certainly getting there.
we're going to be on the
Yeah.
stage. Let's take it.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like a party. It's like a celebration, and you don't show up to a wedding like dressed frumpy. I don't know. So
Right.
that's just my take. I think everybody can do what they want. But high school coaches, I would think, have the same thought.
It's fun to watch them. It's been. I was like,
Yeah.
oh,
I'm glad that you like the
Yeah.
outfits. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, it's so good. It's so
It's
good.
Instagrammable.
It's
Okay.
Instagrammable. I know. Now that you're like, so it's good. You have a marketing background and a business, right?
Yes.
Business administration,
Yes.
marketing.
Yes.
So now, as you're stepping into the limelight, don't change the outfits. The outfits
Okay, I
are
won't.
perfect. Like,
I
don't mess with
absolutely
that.
will not.
Don't spend time on what works.
Mhm.
But now you can, now you know that it's,
Okay.
that it's
Yeah.
good. It's just
Okay.
the perfect blend. Okay, I do have one other. I know you're dying to get
I
to
know,
that.
I'm
Okay,
ready.
I'm so sorry. Just love me. This is my chance.
Well, we go on high note and then we go you.
I was going to do one serious question,
Okay.
and then we can go to the Is that
Okay.
good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So this was coming from conversations with my daughters.
Sure.
And my husband he was an athlete and follows all the sports with our girls, and he's all in. And one of the things that we were reflecting on, it's so interesting. So volleyball is really predominantly women. We're seeing men's volleyball, and it definitely exists, and boys volleyball coming up, but you see mostly male coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And if we looked at like football, that's predominantly men players, right? Or male players, you don't see female coaches. And if you did, people would probably question that or have opinions about that. But no questions about when you see all these male coaches in a dominant female sport. So I was just curious, like, as you're starting to see more female coaches, and if you have any thoughts on that and how that impacts the players, or maybe it doesn't make a difference at all.
Yeah. To full disclosure, I've thought a lot about how I would answer this question if I ever got this question.
And we didn't even practice this.
Yeah,
You
no,
had no
totally.
idea I was going to ask
That's
this.
okay, but I've thought a lot about this because it gets posed a lot in other settings. You're never getting this question like after a game or anything like that, but it's conversation. So I've thought a lot about it, and I'm not sure where I land because here's the competing forces. I have a lot of my own dad was a coach, right? So there's that.
Yeah.
And now granted, he does it for almost no pay. He's in the high school setting. And if anything, he's given a lot more than he's received. And the lives that he's changed and the scholarships and the education that women have gotten from him being a coach and things like that. And I also have so many friends like that are males that coach that are phenomenal. My own top assistant is amazing. So there's that. Another competing force is I really struggled to get hired out of college. I think some of it is you're looking at me now, I'm like small. I was a setter. I don't have this like big arm. Usually when you hire young assistants, you're looking for like hard skills. Like you're looking for like brute force, like go swing at our players, or you're not looking for soft skills as much. Maybe that's the easiest way to describe it simply. I also didn't have this incredible, like I wasn't playing on the Olympic team type resume, things like that. So that's a competing force. There's also a part of me that I'm maybe in the camp that believes like hire the best person for the job, but being a woman, being a mom is a feature, not a bug. And maybe that is what makes you the best person or part of what can make you the best person for the job. So I understand that argument, which that's like that could just do a whole podcast on that topic alone. And that's been very much a huge conversation in society in the last, couple of years. So there's so many things on this. So where do I land? I think that men started getting into it when money started getting into it. So I think that's interesting, right? And I think when you look at who's making the hires, I think that's important.
Right.
And it's tough. I really think you should try, this is where I'm at. You should try to hire the best person for the job in good faith.
Yeah, regardless.
Yes, that's probably where I feel the most comfortable in that space. And I don't know if that always happens. And that's a bummer. And at times, I think that favors men, and I've seen that, and that sucks. I will also add this little disclaimer. I think women sometimes think a little more in the way that I think, where I'm like, man, when I judge success, I'm going to holistically look at my whole life. If my career is crushing it, but the rest of my life is falling apart, that is not success to me.
Yeah.
And men, I don't know, sometimes they're
different standard because of the way that society has put the definition of success.
Women aren't always willing to move as much. Like, so there's just so much that goes, it's so layered. It is very layered.
Right.
And also do I have they don't necessarily go for it if they don't have 100% of the qualifications versus like.
Well, that's so true. Like men will be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll figure it out. Women are like, I better figure it out before I go do. And don't do that, girls. Just go do it.
Yes.
Go figure it out. But yeah, such a layered question. I think I'd probably land and go make a good faith effort to hire the best. I really wonder, and I've seen it, where administration just want to get things done quickly. Volleyball is not like your highest paid sport. Right. They will make their hardest, most good faith, best effort to hire the best football coach they can find.
Right.
Because it's super, super matters.
Right.
In volleyball, oftentimes they want to make that hire fast. So if a man is willing to move and do it now and he's pretty good, like, boom, we're done. We don't have to spend a bunch of time.
Right.
To hire a woman that's willing to move, like sometimes you have to put a little more time to figure that out.
Yeah.
That's
true. I love it. Okay, that was great. Okay,
awesome.
Shireen.
I'm going to go down and then I'll bring us back up.
Oh, you're going further down.
Well, we're gonna go to a stupid shit segment, don't you think?
Oh no, down. Like that's up.
I have a good one for you.
That's up. That's up.
It depends on what it is. It could be.
I like it.
And then we'll end on a high note.
Okay,
we'll
I like
just
it.
keep
it's
going.
All high for me at that point. Once we get to this part.
So as Nicola had mentioned, right? So actually, she had one question, but you might have a different one. But you've been in coaching and dealing with athletes in
family
general, right? Because
big, medium-sized family. I won't call it a big family anymore.
I think it's big family, but for sure, like back in the day, it was totally medium.
So we're pretty sure you've seen some stupid shit. And do you have a story you would like to share with us?
I for sure have it. Okay, so I could fill a whole podcast with this. Okay. It's college athletics. There's crazy stories. The one that I feel comfortable sharing, because there's a million of these. Before a game, me and my staff, other than one, we were all in a elevator. Okay, this is so embarrassing. So I was like, do I share like stupid shit that's happened to me that's been done to me? Stupid shit that I've done or stupid shit I've dealt with? Because there's like multiple categories right here. So I'm going to share, in order to not like, get in trouble here, I'm going to share something that I've done.
Okay.
Because otherwise, I'd like to keep my job type deal. So here's something I've done that I think is safe to share. So me and my staff, we're going down an elevator. This is like game time is maybe 20 minutes out. And we are all in the elevator, and my top assistant, his daughter is in the elevator with us. And she's like such a sweetie, I don't know, maybe 8 years old. And she's like, we should jump. And she's
in the elevator.
Yes. And I like, we're all just fun, fun loving. So my top assistant, he's like, I don't know, 250. Like this is like 5-6 adults.
Right.
And so we're all like, yeah. And I do think I was like, no, we shouldn't do that. But so we did it. Whatever, we did it. There's signs everywhere. Don't do this, So we did it. And the elevator broke down.
Oh, and so you got stuck?
And so our elevator got stuck.
Oh, no.
Did you guys have to open the door and climb out?
No, so we're stuck in the elevator. And game time it's like clock
start
is
with the phone.
Clock is ticking. Okay. Yes, exactly. Clock is ticking. 20 minutes till game time. This is at SMU. There's one staff member in the locker room. All the team is waiting on us to
go. The Nebraska game. No,
it's not Nebraska. I don't even remember who we were playing. But we call him and we're like, hey, like Loki, we're stuck in the elevator. We're calling the fire department. Like they're on their way. And then we are in the elevator like conniving a plan. Like we're not going to tell them that we jumped.
Yeah, you're telling the 8-year-old, this is the time. If there's ever a time to lie in your life, this is it.
We are not going to tell them we jumped. So anyway, I don't know, 15, they get there. The team's getting ready to go. We are maybe 2-3 minutes out from game time. And they get there and they open the elevator doors. They save us. And they're like, did you guys jump?
They knew.
And they immediately knew. And the 8-year-old cracked. Right away. Like, yes. I was like, oh my gosh, I am
by yes, she means just her.
I am so embarrassed. I am so embarrassed. So
it's true. If you jump in an elevator, it'll stop.
I mean, yeah.
That is why the
Don't do
signs
it.
are there. Because
And
someone
so
did
this
it.
must have been a newer building.
Well,
'cause-
maybe
Was this
not
at
with
Moody?
like 5. Yeah, this is at Moody.
Okay.
Maybe not with like 500-600 pounds. If you just do it with 150,
I mean, full
300 pounds.
disclosure,
Or a
I
few
did do
8-year-olds.
it. I did do it in the mall in Lubbock. It was only 2 stories though.
Yeah.
So
And were there 8 adults in there?
no, it was
Yeah,
only,
right.
there were only 2 of us, but
Okay.
it did stop, and we had to pry the doors open and climb out.
Yeah.
Oh, is that why you went to the prying the doors open? I was like, you
Yeah.
start with the phone, like
Oh,
where you
no.
can push the button for help.
We pulled the doors open and climbed out.
Yeah. So
That is hilarious.
yeah, right before a game.
Yeah.
Wow. And so,
And our team's like, where were you guys? It's like,
what'd you say?
we were stuck in the elevator.
And you stopped there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you can actually use that often. Like if you're going someplace and you don't necessarily want to show up on time, just be like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I
We
was stuck in the elevator.
Yeah.
It's those elevators.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
So that was the safest one I was like, this is real. This happened.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think
We were outed immediately. Do you want to ask about the hilarious? What about on the court?
Yeah, funniest thing you've and it can be when you were a player, like
I don't
anything
know.
that ever.
Oh, so many. I don't know. That one's a tough one. I mean, I like right after I had my babies, I remember like trying to do play, show my girls what was going on, and I peed my pants.
Oh yeah, that's the best.
Yes,
we know that.
Completely peed my pants.
You're
on the
like, what
court.
is this?
And then you're like,
okay.
My my boss is right there. He's like, let's go, next ball. And I'm like,
I
don't want to tell him that I just peed my pants. There's what there's pee on the floor, and that's not water. And
that's hilarious.
I'm so embarrassed, and I'm just so that has happened, and that's real.
That's a pretty good one.
That's a good one, yeah.
That's a good one.
That
Any mother can relate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's happened I've also split my pants many a times.
Oh.
Splitting my pants has happened. I've tried to, as my girls can attest, I've tried to demo for them and just completely embarrass myself, thinking I can still do what I used to be able to do, and I'm cannot.
That's priceless.
So that's embarrassing. It's okay. It's fine. I'm totally over it.
So both my girls are setters
Right.
as well. And my oldest she plays 17s. And she trains with an incredible setter coach who's now had 2 babies, right? And every once in a while, and they have a really great relationship. She played 14s for her. She's playing 18s for her next year. She still trains with her. And her coach, her name is Nil Mary. And she, literally, she'll be like, and I can't do the accent, so I'm not even going to pretend. But she's like, I don't know what you're not getting. And she'll do this perfect set into the ring.
Yeah.
And nails it every single time.
Right.
And my oldest just looks at her and she will literally just start applauding.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, you still got it. So proud of you.
Oh, Lord.
But I'm waiting for the day when it doesn't make it into the ring.
Yep.
And what that reaction
will
will
come.
be. That
She'll
day
be
will come.
humbled. I've been humbled.
But she's it's just a spectacular dynamic between the 2 of them. But literally, she was like, I don't even know what to say to her every time she gets it in the ring. And I said, I think you should just applaud. It's amazing. She's still doing her thing. And Gabrielle just went in and just did it. And
That's hilarious.
it's pretty funny. So I'll have to ask her what she plans to do the day that she misses, and what that reaction will be.
And that day will come.
That day will come. I don't know.
Well, I was going to take us. And we're ready to.
Yeah, now you can go.
I can take us out. So you're on a pretty great adventure right now. So I'm not sure if you're thinking about it, but what is after this fun adventure? Do you have something on the horizon or something that you really want? It could be anything. It could be a fun
It doesn't have to
family
be
trip.
professionally. We already know you're going to join the CIA.
Yeah.
If you aren't secretly already a part of it.
Recruit me.
Yes.
I would do both. That'd be amazing if I could do both.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. Whenever I'm traveling, I'll do a little intelligence gathering on these road trips if that's what they need. So the question is, what's next?
Yeah, do you have a dream? What's the far off dream?
You did a really nice job of saying, okay, here's holistic view.
Sure.
Here are the things, right?
Yeah.
But they don't, as much as you might go down multiple paths,
Sure.
they're not necessarily all at the same time, right? So
totally.
What's out there that's kind of a carrot that is dangling itself in front of you that you're...
I think it's still really, I still really would like to continue growing that, in the thick of growing the SMU volleyball program. I very much believe that this thing can grow and be special. looking at Nebraska volleyball and some of those major programs that you just like household names. I would love for Dallas and SMU to have a women's female sport that everyone goes, man, like volleyball, like they feel an amazing program that people just love and can enjoy and go to. And so that's the here and now. And I think that will still take some time in the future. And that's still dangling in front of me.
Yep.
There's that. Probably still want to grow my family. So that's a carrot dangling out in front.
What is one of the far-off adventures in your mind in that intelligence world that you want to go to?
Yeah, I think that's so funny because I really, if 10 years, 20 years from now, this is going to sound so cliche. You guys are going to think I'm just like the most boring, basic, like lame. I don't know. But if my kids are just like awesome people like that it will be like the most satisfying thing. That is the carrot. Like that is what I'm chasing after every day. Like I want people to meet my children and go like respectful, kind, amazing people. Like that is like my goal in life is truly like raising amazing kids. Like that is it. Now, I don't think coaching volleyball will be my only act in life. I don't know what the other one will be. I don't know.
It's yet to be written.
It probably is yet to be written.
I will say I'm going to fast forward like, I don't know, I guess mine are 13 and 17. Or 16, sorry, 16. 13 and 16, going on 17. And I will say it's super fun to start watching them turn into these, like, you start to see the future them that they're becoming and what they're transitioning to, and the level of confidence that children have now compared to what we had in our generation and how that's becoming more common is really a cool experience. It is really a cool experience to watch.
Oh gosh, that's the dream. You're going to love it when that time goes, but don't rush to get there.
Yeah,
I won't.
Okay. Because the cuddles are great.
I do have one final question.
Okay.
That moment when Moody was sold out for Nebraska, because you set a record with SMU, what were you feeling in that moment? And when did it hit you?
That was really cool. When I walked out on the floor, and this is obviously before we beat them, this is the beginning of the game, and it's sold out, and the atmosphere was just electric, and it was full, and I pointed to all my staff, and I was just kind of walking up and down the bench, and I was saying, this is what I want it to be like all the time. I really hope we can get to a point where this is the norm. Yeah. And I think most people would say that's not possible. That's a little crazy, but we're in Dallas, and I think it is possible. But it will take quite a bit of work. So that's what I was talking about then. Yeah. And then there was a point in that game, because I think you guys said you were there, where we were really driving the bus. This was not we don't know who's going to win.
It was so good.
Right.
It was so good.
We were kind of in control. So there was a point before we won where I knew we were winning this thing. And so that moment before you win, when you know that you're going to win and you're taking it all in, I have not arrived. And I read the pre-stuff, and so I know that was like kind of a part of the questions. I don't think I've arrived at all, and we could have a terrible year next year. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know the future. I don't have the crystal ball. I don't view that as a moment of I've arrived, but that is for sure a moment where I was like, okay, I'm thankful that I've got to experience this, and my girls get to experience this. This is a lifetime memory. Yep. To say otherwise would be a lie, and we will bank this one. Just a priceless moment, and I want to go chase down more of these. It's a gift. It was really cool.
I love it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. So fun to just chat with you guys.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Thank you for listening today. We hope you enjoyed this insightful conversation. If you liked this episode, please text a friend right now to tell them about this amazing podcast you've discovered that you know they would enjoy, because we all need to find our inner badassery.
And don't forget to follow us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on social media at Counsel Brew. We'd love for you to leave a comment, or even better, share a pic of you and your favorite brew.
Until next time.